Hello everyone, welcome to Inside Winston Cup Racing. We're at the Dover Downs International Raceway in Dover, Delaware, the track they call the Monster Mile, and it normally lives up to its name. We have a lot for you in this half hour of Inside Winston Cup Racing, and here's what's coming up.
Well, Kenny Schrader dueled Dale Earnhardt after the last restart and finally took the lead with 78 laps remaining and went on to win the Budweiser 500 on the Monster Mile. We'll have all the action coming up.
And Dave Mader picked up his first Busch Grand National pole of the season for the Bud 200. But it was a strange turn of events at the finish that led to Todd Bodine's first victory of his young BGN career. You'll see what happened.
We'll also show you how NASCAR has now incorporated a computer into its scoring procedures. Keeping track of who's on the track has just been made a little easier.
Today's show is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Miller Genuine Draft. Cold filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold. By Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful tires, the Goodyear Eagles. And by Kodak Gold Film, the official film of NASCAR.
One car manufacturer has more NASCAR victories than anyone. Winning over 350 NASCAR races, over 4 decades of racing. That car manufacturer is Ford. And that kind of winning performance goes beyond the winner's circle.
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires, Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
The results are in. Thompson's House and Deck Stain waterproofs better than even the leading brand's premium stain, because only Thompson Stain contains Thompson's Water Seal. It waterproofs and beautifies in one easy step. Thompson Stain. Seal water out, seal color in.
I see your true colors shining through. True colors shining.
Because the world gets more colorful every day, Kodak introduces a more colorful film. New Kodak Gold 400 film. It now has the richest, most saturated color available in high-speed film. New Kodak Gold 400 film.
Tomorrow morning, experience a new high. Introducing Mountain Fresh Dial with a scent so big, so bold, so bracing, it's right up there with your peak experiences. New Mountain Fresh Dial.
If you joined the IWCR Sports Club before June 1990, now's the time to renew your membership. And if you're not yet a member, then now's the time to join. When you join the club, you'll get the all-new exciting Best Stories of the Year video free, fantastic travel discounts, an automatic discount on all pit shop race merchandise, plus much more. To join or renew your membership, call 800-692-7777 or send check or money order for $22 plus $4 shipping and handling to Sports Club, Box 240417, Charlotte 28224.
The Monster Mile, they call this 1 mile track here at the Dover Downs International Speedway. It's one of the toughest tracks on the circuit. You know, before they came here, they ran the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte. That's the longest race in miles, but it takes longer to run 500 miles here than there, and it really is tough. Every driver will tell you that. But Randy, before the race, there was some news, including some drivers and some other personnel in the sport.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot of news that came out of Dover, but what did came during qualifying. Sterling Marlin failed to complete a lap when he suffered mechanical failure. And the King Richard Petty lost his Pontiac in turn 2. Well, Rusty Wallace appeared to have his second Busch Pole Award of the season, but Michael Waltrip was the next car on the track, and he turned in a great time, capturing his very first career Winston Cup pole position. Well, the biggest news in the driver change department came when Dick Moroso decided to go to a limited schedule with his Oldsmobile team. Therefore, Bobby Hillin Jr. was looking for a car to drive. Jimmy Means decided to get out of his Alka-Seltzer Pontiac and let Hillin compete in that car for 2 events. Now, Hillin will then drive the Mellow Yellow Pontiacs for Kyle Petty. But first, there were 2 drivers looking at their last race in substitute roles. That was Kenny Wallace substituting for Kyle Petty here at Dover, and also Tommy Ellis substituting for the injured Jeff Bodine. Now, Bodine will make the start at Sears Point, but a relief driver will be standing by out there. Now, there were 2 crew member changes for Derek Cope's Pure Later Chevrolet team. Greg Whitcomb has been relieved of his duties there, and also Brad Parrott.
Today's Winston Cup highlights are brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
No one had more to prove than the driver of the Pennzoil Pontiac, Michael Waltrip, coming in 8th in points and now a pole position in his pocket. Michael, what do you think? You've won a Busch race here. Now you got your first career pole. Is this the day we're going to see in Victor Lane?
It'd be nice. We're running off a well. Try to make that starting place pay a little bit extra thanks to Union today.
Who's going to be the toughest competition you think out there?
Oh, man, Mark Martin's running real good, but all the guys that work on the Pennzoil Pontiac has done a super job this week. We think we're prepared, so we should have a good shot.
Good luck for you today.
Thanks.
But Rusty Wallace picked Mike's pocket and robbed him of the point only 15 laps in. Dale Jarrett forced the first caution flag on lap 20 when he crashed his Citgo Ford in turn 2. Michael's chance at victory ended when he became victim of mechanical failure and found himself in the garage area only 40 laps in. But Michael wasn't the only one that had tough times on the day. It certainly wasn't Miller time, as Rusty twice pitted for cut tires, eventually losing 2 laps and finishing 9th. Dale Earnhardt's luck was much better. He checked out and charged through the field, flying by Davey Allison only 73 laps in to put him a lap down, and he lapped all but 9 cars only 125 miles into the 500-mile contest. Bobby Hillen's day was interrupted by a brief fire. Michael Waltrip called it quits after coming back and crashing in turn 4. Earnhardt also had his troubles, as he cut a tire and eventually went a lap down. And that's what caused the best racing of the day. Mark Martin, who led it halfway and had his Ford out front for 79 laps, tried to put Dale a lap down. Then Gant got by Martin and gave Dale the same business. But with a smoke-filled pit road for Chad Little's blown motor, a miscommunication made Gant go by pit road under caution. Earnhardt finally got back on the lead lap when Jimmy Spencer and Morgan Shepherd were charging hard into turn 1, and Spencer came down on Shepherd. Spencer got the worst of it, crashing in turn 2. Hut Strickland also got back on the lead lap, but could never quite get to the front, but finished a strong 6th on the lead lap. As the race closed in on a finish, Ken Schrader ferociously fought his way past Earnhardt and into the lead. And from there on in, the show was over. Earnhardt tried to shorten his gap between he and Schrader's Chevys over the final 78 laps, but to no avail. Kenny came home on top, followed by Dale, Harry Gant, Ernie Irvin, and Mark Martin.
There was a lot of times we were running 6th, 5th, that we weren't the 5th, 6th fastest car. You know, we could a little bit faster, but we just kind of rode. The guys did outstanding bringing me in before everybody came and put me up front. Followed Dale for about 10 laps there. I found where I could do it, and I figured I'm only going to get one shot, you know, because he can make life miserable on you, and it's special, you know, to race with Dale.
The race being run today at Sears Point in California will be much shorter in time and much easier on the drivers. We need to take a short break. Still to come is a story on the new scoring in NASCAR. And as we leave you for this break, here's the balance of the finishing order for the Budweiser 500.
A company can learn a lot in 125 years. Valvoline has. You learn in the lab, you learn on the road, you learn on the racetrack. As you learn, you make your product better. And better, and better. Today's Valvoline will keep your engine cleaner than ever before. And cleaner means more protection against engine wear. 125 years of quality. That's why why people who know use Valvoline.
Genuine draft. For those who've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place. All my friends never low rider.
How hot can it get inside your car's engine? 570 degrees under extreme conditions. Take a leading motor oil. Take Mobil 1. Of course, Mobil 1 costs more. But under extreme conditions, when you see what can happen to conventional motor oil, it doesn't pay to play with fire. Mobil 1, isn't your car worth the extra protection?
Mobil 1 welcomes Rick Mears to the winner's circle. Congratulations on your Indy 500 win.
Yes, you might win a new Pontiac Grand Prix in the special days of Summer Sweepstakes. Plus, 4 special days in sweet tickets for the Winston Cup race in Charlotte, October 6th. Plus, airfare and special days in will throw in accommodations. How about 10 cruises for 2? Want to know how to win one? Register where you see this sign. Want to enter your name in the special days of Summer Sweepstakes? Call 1-800-CMC-DAYS. By the way, what is your name?
Jerry.
Don't just sit there. Enter now.
And the male artist of the year is...
Country music's biggest stars shine for the fan-voted TNN Music City News Country Awards. Join host Tanya Tucker and Roy Clark live from the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee for country music's most prestigious event, the TNN Music City News Country Awards. Live Monday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on TNN, the Nashville Network.
Fly with Rusty Wallace to the Miller Genuine Draft 500. You'll meet Rusty at the team shop in Charlotte, then fly in his personal jet to Pocono and be the official starter of the Miller Genuine Draft 500. To enter, call 1-900-FUN on TNN. Each call is 95 cents per minute, or send your name, address, and phone number on a postcard to this address. Enter as often as you wish. Entry deadline July 3rd. You must be 21 or older to enter. Grand prize winner will be announced on July 14th on Inside Winston Cup Racing.
Well, after 500 miles on a mile track here at Dover and about 4.5 hours of competition, it's an achievement just to keep the scoring correct at the end of the race. But Ned, I wonder, how did they do it back in the days when you raced and you won a race by 14 laps?
Well, I guess that one maybe wasn't too hard to score with the driver that far in front. But basically, Randy, they used the same system back then that was in effect up until the last couple of months when they enlisted the help of a computer.
In most sports, it's not all that difficult to keep track of scoring. In NASCAR, it's much more complicated considering every time a car completes a lap, it scores. Each car has a person dedicated to keeping an eye and a finger focused on that race car.
What they're doing now is they're pushing a button as their car crosses the line, and the computer then keeps track of how many laps each car has and gives us a sorted field all the time on the screen.
So what happens if a button is pushed late or not at all?
The computer knows about how long it takes to do a lap at each particular track. We've got parameters in there that will allow us to detect if they push the button early or push it late or don't push it at all. And that shows up on the screen then as a status that gets my attention and says, well, we better go check with the score and make sure that their lap count is correct.
In years past, NASCAR scoring has come under some fire at times by crew members, drivers, and fans. But the new computer-assisted program and all its checks and balances has hopefully all but eliminated the possibility of error. But if there is a problem, longtime veteran scorer Morris Metcalf is there to head it off.
This is exactly what we're using on Winston Cup now, and if they didn't tell you, what they do is at the end of every lap, when the leader comes back to start the next lap, that triggers it and sends a signal by radio link to the control tower, which also serves MRN, and we also will have a unit at the back of the Winston Cup trailer, so if any crew chief wants to see exactly where they're running, they can go to the back of the trailer and see it.
But the new system does require much more time to set up than the old one. one which needed only a piece of paper, a pen, and a person in order to record one's position.
There's a bit of setup that we have to go through for each race. We start by entering the car numbers for the starting lineup, and that gives us our initial display before the race even starts.
After the computer is in place, and usually an hour before race time, the scorers take their places, and the computer takes its input.
35, 99, 20, 31.
After the input is double-checked, it is time to test the triggers of the team representatives.
3 minutes.
72.
Once all the clickers are accounted for, Morris makes his final checks, and it's time to race. Even with the new system, when the green flag falls, the action can be as high-paced inside as it is on the track.
44 goes outside, 75 outside.
Car 1, 64.
Right.
Well, the computer system has finally found its way into NASCAR scoring, and I'm certain it's here to stay. But like anything else that involves 20th century technology, it's only as good as the human element allows. And fortunately, here in NASCAR scoring, the human element is pretty good.
Three, where are you?
Okay, folks, this is a typical example of what goes on in a Winston Cup race or in a modified or Busch Grand National or in any race in NASCAR. Here you see 32 scorers, each equipped with a button. They each push this button each time their car comes by. They record the number on the scorecard. We used to have to hold the cards up every 10 laps. It'd take 5 or 10 laps to get a complete rundown. Now we get it within 1 lap. During that lap, a quarter of a second after the completion of that lap, they get a complete printout of the rundown, the way the cars are running.
At the conclusion of a race, a finish order is available within seconds. But it's not official until it's official.
And 36 with 18. That's it, folks. And it's been a pleasure serving you today. You radio folks out there in Radio Land, just remember, keep those cards and letters coming in. For $9.95, you get a Morris Metcalf fan club kit, you get a bumper decal, a pin, a picture of Morris at 2 years old, and one at 64 years old. So the address is...
Well, Morris was obviously kidding about having his own personal fan club, but Ned, he's proof that the human element still exists in NASCAR scoring.
Oh, yes, and he helped to develop that system. That's his baby, and I'm sure it'll work good over the years. We need to take a short break. Still to come are highlights of a bizarre finish in the Budweiser 200 Busch Grand National race here at Dover, and we'll also have the mailbox.
And coming up, here's this week's Kodak
Photo Finish.
Brought to you by Kodacolored Gold 100 Film, the truest, most accurate color of any print film. Show your true colors on Kodacolored Gold Film, the official film of NASCAR.
The final lap of the 1986 Summer 500 at Pocono was a 2-car battle to the checkered flag between the late Tim Richmond and Jeff Bodine. Then out of the fog came a charging Ricky Rudd on the inside to thrill the fans with a 3-wide chase. At the line, it was Richmond and Rudd. While the Folgers crew celebrated, NASCAR officials weren't so certain. With Richmond and Rudd waiting on pit road, the pictures proved Richmond the winner in what was truly a photo finish.
Ford Trucks. The best never rests.
Look, everybody knows our full-size pickup's priced less than Chevy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just for starters. This study shows the F-150 will cost less to operate. And look, it'll hold its value better than Chevy. It's more than a good truck. It's a good investment.
More people are driving the best-built, best-selling American trucks than ever before.
Where can you go on Goodyear Wrangler radials? So where can you go on Goodyear Wrangler radials? Just about anywhere you want. Put on a set of Goodyear Wrangler radials, and you'll know why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
If you're trying to decide how to
paint your house? Just ask a professional painter how he might paint his house. With Sherwin-Williams, there's only one paint that's good, and there's only one place you can get it. The pros know. Ask Sherwin-Williams.
Cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft. For those who've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place.
Man, I know what to expect on the track. It's driving with amateurs on the highway that scares me. Drive like a pro. Buckle up.
Well, the Budweiser 500 run here at the Monster Mile in Dover was certainly a tough one, and one reason is because the whole track is backed, including the front straightaway. But next week here on Inside Winston Cup Racing, we'll be doing a little different racing. We'll be on the road course in Sonoma, California at Sears Point, where we'll bring you all the action from the Banquet Frozen Foods 300.
And on the other side of the continent, the Busch Series battles the tight track in Rougemont, North Carolina. You'll see the short track action in the Roses Stores 300.
You'll also meet Bobby Hamilton and Ted Musgrave. These two rookie drivers talk about their tight battle for the prestigious Rookie Championship, as well as each other.
Not really.
I'm the bad guy.
When the NASCAR Busch Grand National drivers take to the track anywhere, you can expect a lot of excitement and a lot of unknowns. And certainly was the case in the Budweiser 200. First of all, Dave Mader won his first pole of the year, and then one of the most bizarre finishes that we've seen in a long, long time. For the highlights, here's Dan Kenyon.
Dave Mader III led the field of 34 for the first 13 laps. Mike McLaughlin brought out the first of 4 cautions on the day with a blown motor. On the restart, Ernie Irvan and Dale Jarrett quickly shot by Mader and ran for only 5 laps until middle brother of the Wallace trio, Mike, had an engine expire, forcing him to call it a day. Irvan, Jarrett, David Green, and Dave Mader pulled away from the pack on the restart. Dale Jarrett, who's had seemingly endless bad luck all season, pushed his Pontiac too hard and had to quit on lap 34 with engine problems. Rookie David Green in the TIC Financial Oldsmobile then set his sights on Irvan and the lead. Tommy Houston crashed in turns 1 and 2 on lap 46, and leader Ernie Irvan pitted for 2 tires and fuel, giving the lead to Green. Green led for 6 laps until he cut a tire and had to pit. Dave Mader again had the lead, but also had a hard-charging Kenny Wallace right behind him. Mader suddenly pitted on lap 64 with a blown engine and was finished for the day. Kenny Wallace took the lead with Todd Bodine and Bobby Labonte close on his heels. Bodine took over the point on lap 69, held it for 39 laps, and then gave it up to Irvan on lap 109, and he kept the pace for the next 49 laps. Harry Gant, Davey Allison, and Darrell Waltrip all took brief stints in the lead, exchanging spots as the others pitted. Gant, who was still on the same tires he started with, seemed to be in control, but he was overtaken by Ernie Irvan with less than 15 miles to go. It looked as if Irvan would have no problem holding off Davey Allison, but with only 4 laps to go, his Mack Tool Chevy blew up, bringing out the 4th and final caution of the afternoon. This opened the door for Davey Allison to take the win. Unfortunately, Allison ran out of fuel under the caution. This handed the victory to youngest of the Bodine brothers, Todd. Bodine, whose race team is still searching for a sponsorship, hoped the victory will enlighten a potential sponsor.
We led an awful lot of laps there in the beginning, up to halfway, and we proved we could run up front, and it just worked out at the end. And maybe if somebody was watching and something will come of it. I hope so. We got a good team.
Today's mailbox is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
And our question today comes from Patel Balka of El Paso, Texas, who writes, what happens to the race cars when a race is stopped due to rain and they can't run until the next day? What can be done as far as the cars are concerned, and what cannot be done by the pit crews? Well, Patel, for that answer, we'll go to Richard Broome, who's the crew chief on the Kodiak Chevrolets that Ken Schrader drives.
Well,
It's kind of a tradition of Dick Beatty's that you just park them on pit road, you cover them up, and that's it. And you can't do anything to them except just go back to them, dry the things out, put a dry air cleaner element in them, and put them back on the racetrack the next following day. In other words, they probably wouldn't even let us bring them back to the garage area. Thanks, Patel, for writing in.
If you have any race questions, you can write to us at Inside Winston Cup Racing, Box 240417, Charlotte 28224. Or you can now call us at 1-900-84-RACES. Charge is $1 per minute, average call 2 minutes. Fans 18 and under, get your parents' permission before calling. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Genuine Draft jacket free. Fans 21 and under will receive an IWCR cap and t-shirt.
Well, our time's up for today. Hope you enjoyed the show, and you be sure to be with us here next week when we'll be on the West Coast in Sonoma, California.
Today's show has been brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Winning the world over with 1991 trucks that are built Ford tough. By Miller Genuine Draft, cold filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold. By Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful tires, the Goodyear Eagles. And by Kodak Gold Film, the official film of NASCAR. Inside Winston Cup clothing provided in part by Sports Image Incorporated, suppliers of quality racing apparel. Communications for Inside Winston Cup Racing crew provided by Racing Radios, Forest Park, Georgia, the official communications of NASCAR. Transportation for Inside Winston Cup Racing provided by Fleetwood Enterprises, makers of a full line of excellent recreational vehicles. And by your Carolina Ford dealers. Nobody outsells Ford in the Carolinas.
There's more and more water being polluted right now. People are just dumping all this junk into the clean rivers.
Well, I think everybody should recycle and not just throw things without thinking where they go next and how long they'll stay on the earth.
So we need to save the water, and we have to care about it.
Please keep their water clean. Pure water, pure country.
One of these men experienced significant hair loss, but thanks to the Manny Roberts single hair integration system, he now has a magnificent head of natural hair. He engages in all sports with the confidence of a man with his own hair. Look your best. Learn how with a free color brochure from Manny Roberts, which explains in detail their single hair integration system that's completely undetectable. Call 1-800-456-HAIR. That's 1-800-456-HAIR for that free color brochure. Until there's a better way, there's Manny Roberts.
When you need exhaust or brake repair, you need the highest quality workmanship and personal service. You need American Muffler of Westbury. At American Muffler, we're problem solvers, not parts changes. So whether it's your exhaust system, brakes, or New York State inspection, you can depend on American Muffler's 12-year reputation for the ultimate in customer satisfaction. The customer's always number one at American Muffler, with quality work performed at budget-pleasing prices. American Muffler of Westbury. National quality with a mom-and-pop attitude.
The Statler Brothers, Williams and Reed, Nashville Now, Tuesday.